Hello, good evening. Welcome to another show. I'm Chris Hughes from Rebound on the Upstreamedia YouTube channel. I can't believe it's June. I hope you're all well. Today I've got the BBL's Head of Communications, Selina Conroy on. I hope you're well. Welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you for having me.
You're welcome. I say it's great to have you on. We arranged a few weeks ago and you said, oh, we have something to talk about, and you thought maybe this time would be good time to speak about it. And obviously today you released the story, so I was sort of wondering what it was. So it's great to hear some news about the league. I think a lot of people wonder what's happening, and we'll talk a bit about that and other things tonight. I'm really intrigued to get your story, because as I say, I've had some players on, had coaches on, but it's great to have an organisation on, so I'm sure you guys have got a great story you want to tell, and it'd be great to hear a bit about behind the scenes, to understand how things work. So I'm really looking forward to chatting about you. I thought maybe we'd start sort of your journey, or how the role came about for yourself, and a bit about yourself.
Yeah, sure. So I actually joined BBL at the start of February. So my journey has been short but eventful so far. Previously, I was working at a digital agency. I was actually looking after luxury brands and food and beverage. Before that, I've been doing marketing and journalism sort of all over the place, really. But I've always liked basketball, and when I saw this job come up, I was like, well, there's an opportunity that I can't let pass me by. So here we are.
So I feel like I was a bit of a job interview. You did really well at visual apologies. You've got to be, what does he want to hear? No, it's fine, don't worry. And I say we were sort of talking a bit off air. Obviously, you started in February. Must be quite a lot of it's quite unusual 3 months or something coming into basketball. I guess now having that information about the season and you to breathe a little and relax stuff about next season. But I thought maybe what some of your I'm saying there's some challenges. Obviously, there were quite a few challenges coming in those last few months. And so, how was it for you? Because I'm sure there were some highlights, but I'm sure there was a lot of challenges, and I'm sure how you guys going to would be quite interesting to hear.
It was. So obviously, going into March, when sort of all of this coronavirus stuff started kicking off, it was becoming clear that it was something that was going to affect us. At the time, all we could do, and as we continue to do, is sort of follow the government advice that we're being given. That's all any sport's been able to do, really. The decision to postpone the season was a hard one to take, and similarly, as you say, today we've announced the cancellation of the remainder of the season, and that wasn't an easy decision to make, and that's why it took so long to do. And I know that there's been a lot of talk and speculation about what we've been doing, and it was felt that it was important for us to work through all of the options that were available to try and find the best solution. And in the end, unfortunately, this was it. It's not the way we wanted the season to end by any means at all, but given that we couldn't end in a safe and meaningful manner, it was the only way to do it. But there was a lot of work going on behind the scenes to reach that decision.
Of course, I mean, we'll sort of go into that a bit more depth in a bit. And I like what you mentioned. I think the decision you took was probably the one at the heart that would guarantee the safety and health of the fans, the teams, and the clubs, and obviously the officials as well. So obviously that was really important. Mm-hmm. And I think one thing I've retained from this period is perspective. I think, we can get upset but Leeds finish or there's no basketball, but actually it's quite refreshing to see an organisation take the stance of protecting its stakeholders, its fans. So definitely, we sort of talked a bit about not everyone's only pleased with the decision, but I think actually in terms of safety, I'm sure looking back, people will be quite thankful for
Yeah.
that. So I think there'll be a lot of players probably don't want to be playing in this condition, and obviously, so
Yeah, and I think that's the thing to bear in mind. It's that, ultimately we had to be able to play in a safe way, and at the moment there was, and sort of going forward, there was no way to do that. So it can be done, and the safety of everybody came first.
of course. Obviously, you probably don't have all the answers yet. Say it's a day by day situation. I think obviously
Yeah.
that's probably quite frustrating. But what thoughts have been thought about for next season? About in a scenario where we still have COVID at some capacity, um, what sort of steps are you guys considering for next season?
So there's our sort of our preferred option is to start in the autumn. We are planning more games within the championship, so the trophy and the cup formats stay sort of as they are, but there's more games in the championship. Um, Again, that's sort of our preferred scenario, but we are obviously looking at contingency plans if we do need to start later. As we say, because it is such a changeable situation, we could we could find ourselves at the beginning of autumn, and it seems that we're all set to start, and then it kind of all kicks off again, and we have to
Of course.
rework. So we're planning as much as we can, to have that autumn start, but we can't commit to any proper start date for now.
No, I understand. And I'm sure there's been conversations with clubs and people involved. Is there any sort of common challenges clubs say? Maybe, for instance, hand hygiene facilities or the safety of the crowd to be going in and out? What sort of challenges that you guys keep hearing or talk about yourself that you think could be a real challenge? Maybe to sort of mentally prepare fans to be thinking about these things for
I mean,
next season.
yeah, the fan safety is definitely a crucial aspect of it, and for our clubs who play in facilities that are not their own, that's also an issue. It, we're working with everybody involved to sort of work the best way forward, and there's various guidance that's being looked at and drawn up. FIBA have been working on some. Basketball England are working on it as well at the moment. So really, the key is to make it as safe as possible at the time. And yeah, we're just working through everything we can to see how that'll work.
Of course, and hopefully we'll have it come in August, like in the fall, as you mentioned. And I say, obviously, you've got your digital background, journalism background. And I was wondering what sort of ideas do you guys have for digital content for next year? Just one thing I've really enjoyed this fact there's been a lot of great digital content, if that's between the BBL clubs individually, organisation bodies like yourself, or individual people. I saw what sort of ideas sort of floating around to make it an immersive experience for all.
Oh gosh, lots. I actually ordered myself a whiteboard the other week, that arrived and is far bigger than I thought it would be, simply
Yeah,
so I can
so
start mapping all of these things out. When you order stuff online and it is not the size you thought. So it's massive. And, but it's giving
definitely.
me the space to kind of plot things out. I want us to work more with content creators. So there's been so much great stuff coming out, and some of the teams, the social teams at the clubs have been doing great work, and continue to, and I'm excited to work with them more next season, going forward. But yeah, I think it's been incredible how much people have been working on creating all of this content, and it's been great. Like I've been trying to consume as much of it as I can,
I know.
until it got to the point where it was almost too much. I'm like, just give me a week to catch up,
I
please.
know. I find, yeah. I find for me, like, there's so much out there. It's so easy to miss stuff or uh, forget something that's really good. I think the other day I wasn't expecting to be involved in a game of Guess Who from Leicester Riders' Twitter page.
Yeah.
I thought it was amazing. It's quite simple. Oh, this was interesting. So it's great to see all the
Yeah.
content. But I think what you say, with sort of not much structure going on in general, it's hard, it can be a bit too much overwhelming. And for me, I've been trying to sort of put into feature stuff because there's so much out there. It's just consuming it when there's nothing else is good, but also bad, like you said. So
Yeah.
interesting
But
to.
great. It's been great, and it's been really interesting to see what people have been coming up with. It's been interesting to see the kinds of people. So, like, a couple of players have jumped on board and started their own podcasts and stuff, which is fantastic. I'm absolutely here for it, and they've been really great because they're able to have these kinds of open and honest conversations that previously they might not have had. But as I say, I think sort of heading into next season, I think what what this has done has sort of unlocked some of the barriers in terms of what we can do as the league in terms of content that we put out. So there's a couple of things that I'm working on that I want to take forward into game weeks and stuff. Change up a little bit how we do that. But the main thing is that I want us to really open up and work with these content creators because I've got a very, very, very small team centrally, and it's these people who are here using their passion to make stuff that I want to work with them. I want to work with them because that's how we grow British basketball.
I'm glad to say I think that's very true. I think a lot of people comment say how maybe the game has lack of resources or other criticisms, but I think working together, you to pool people's talents and to work together, as I say, solves a lot of problems that maybe you would have normally. And I've really enjoyed having the players doing the podcasts and their insights as players. I do hope that they're still able to create that content while playing, but I more than appreciate if they don't have that time because, like you say,
Yeah.
if you've got limited resources to work for, you've got work or you've got a small team, it's managing that workload. And I think actually working together with people actually makes that easy, doesn't it?
Yeah. And I think as well, with what I hope comes out of it as well is sort of almost a new appreciation for how much work it does take to create content. I think a lot of times people have probably kind of just sat back and gone, oh yeah, well, you just check out a couple of posts on Instagram or Twitter or something, and it can't take that long to edit a video, and it's not. It's really skilled work, and it does take time. So I hope that maybe there'll be some new appreciation for that and the work that does go into creating all of the content.
I think there is just there's a wide variety of people in entering that arena than it wasn't before, and I think obviously our own experience will shape how they do. I know I speak to a lot of content creators; they want to keep doing it in a positive way, and they're appreciative of the challenges, and definitely. And I definitely hear the criticisms you mentioned. You see it week in week out. I'm sure I'm guilty a few times in the past, but it's very easy to sort of underappreciate the work it takes to do so. I definitely hear you there. I was involved in editing a video a few months ago, and it does take time. And I'm lucky at the moment. I've only started working from home. I'm not really sure how much content I'll be able to create before I sort of spend on medical leave, so a health condition. So I'm hoping I still have time to it, but I'm really appreciative. It does take a lot of time. It's great that you're coming on talking, and obviously lots of people talk about basketball. I think it's doing a great service, and hopefully we can carry it on. So I thought we'd sort of talk a bit about external media. I think that leads quite nice into it. And
Yeah.
um, obviously, we've had games on the BBC, and I was wondering, maybe, what are your thoughts on how we can stand that further? How do we get more people interested in basketball? I think that's the £1 million question. I think we're all trying to answer, isn't it? I think.
Yeah. Apparently, that's why I was hired, to try and answer that question. I think that the thing to remember is that there's no quick fix. There's no quick fix to it.
Yeah.
Our relationship with the BBC, when they show the cup finals and trophy finals, is really important, and we work very closely with them. I think that personally, for me, it's about building the relationships and having those conversations and just starting to showcase that, you know, we've got a great product. British basketball is good. Like, you know, so if you're talking about the NBA, for example, why aren't you talking about what's happening on your own doorstep? But again, it's that education. It's having those conversations and building those relationships. It's not going to happen overnight,
Of course
but
not. Yeah.
I think it can happen. I think again, possibly one of the positives to come out of all of this at the moment is that it has opened up sports editors and broadcasters to other sports, simply because they've been trying to find something to talk about, and then we've been there to talk to them and say, look, you know, British basketball happens. It's a thing. So I'm starting those conversations. I'm starting to have them. So yeah, we'll see where it goes.
Of course, I appreciate it's not a quick fix, and like you said, to build those relationships. And I guess the more people talk about basketball, the more it'll travel up, won't it? I guess it's sort of keep doing the content
Yeah,
we're doing and hoping it builds that way. You
yeah,
talked a bit about
definitely.
the season. Oh yeah, come. Yeah, no, come.
So I was just going to say that definitely that, like, the more people are talking about it, the better, and you know, the it the I think that there's a sense that, you know, it is a minority sport, and it is, but there's definitely room for growth, and there's definitely room there, and prospects and possibilities are there as well.
Do you think they're interested in like, the analytics side of it, and maybe like how many people talk about or how many people are attending, or is it just like you say, educating them to know a bit more about basketball what's going on, or are they actually really looking at it? And because so I really appreciate when I'm doing my stuff is that you want to deliver the content your viewers want to do. So obviously in the back of their mind they're thinking about their audience. It's not as much as maybe we want to talk about our audience, they think about their general sporting audience. Do you get a sense that they're sort of looking at the numbers bit as well, or is it more to do educating?
Um, I think it's a combination of the two. I think it's we know the audience is there. I know as, from sort of all my insights and everything, the audience is there. I know that if you're if you're a fan of a sport, you're generally going to find something in another sport that you like, because there's certain characteristics that are common throughout all of them. If you don't get sports, you're not necessarily going to get it. But I think there's definite crossover appeal. I think we've seen that in the popularity of The Last Dance, for example, whereby people have been really taken aback by it in a way, because although they know the name Michael Jordan, they didn't necessarily know anything about basketball. And a friend of mine was like, "Oh, I didn't realize how athletic they were. I didn't realize how like fast the game. I didn't realize anything about it." And she's already committed to coming to games when we get back to playing here. So um, I think that in terms of sort of broadcasters, they wouldn't be doing their job properly if they weren't looking at the numbers. So so they definitely will be. But again, it's that education and looking at the numbers together that are going to make it add up for them.
I think you made a really important point. A few points that has challenged on mine the other day was to speak to Hannah Shaw from Team GB, and I sort of talked to how does she think we should grow the women's game, and she was saying, well, if we grow the men's game, the women's game would grow too. And for me, I'm quite proud to support British basketball and NBL as well. I just started BBL as well, but I mean, for watching Last Dance, I was like, a light bulb happened. I thought, actually, I enjoyed basketball more. There's more to it. So I actually think, even though in my head sometimes I'm being criticised the NBC for covering the NBA, actually, I think actually it could have some benefit because people will try and find something that's close to that level. Just not everyone's have that finance to go to America watch NBA or step late to emotionally invest in the NBA. They'll probably try and look for something close to it. Like you say, your friend had that, and sort of got her talking. I think that's always a positive thing. So I definitely readjusted my beliefs. I'm like, BBC showed NBA stuff. Well, actually, no, it's not too bad. At least they're talking basketball. Yeah. So definitely. So it's all good. So you say about the league, and you said, obviously, go back to the big story being about finishing the league, but what you guys got planned for next season. What was the factors in deciding to have a 3-game series during the regular season?
So that's sort of a combination. So we wanted to have more games because we couldn't finish them this season. There are monetary reasons for that. I'm not going to lie about that. But also because it's that sense where we couldn't do what we wanted to do this season. We couldn't finish, and to play those games next season makes sense to us in this sense as well. Obviously, when the 19-20 season started, we did have 12 teams, and we're going into 2021 with 11. So that changes it up a bit as well. So combination of factors, but they were the primary reasons.
Definitely. So I don't want to be like a false Nixon. I appreciate you guys as a business, and it's common sense, but you've got to make some decisions about how to support you guys, how to grow the game. We can't just talk about the money side without appreciating, but you can't grow the game without appreciating it. I don't want to feel like, what are you doing that to? Because I fully understand priority to BBL is it's all encompassing. You can't just talk about one without appreciating the other. So,
yeah.
I did want to talk about BBL Trophy, but I know you guys haven't really finalised his plans. Dan Paul, who does a lot of media at BBL, asked me to ask you if you could. What's going to be happening with playoffs? Have you sort of thought about playoffs? I know we sort of haven't had the regular season yet, but have you thought of the structure for the playoffs? Is there a best of 3, or what's the structure going to be like?
Honestly, I can't remember off the top of my head. I think we said that it's going to a 2-leg game. I think I'm not entirely sure on the details, but we will be updating. I think it's in the statement on the website. As I say, my apologies for not preparing properly.
That's okay.
But yeah, again, it's kind of to make sure that if there is any reason that we have to start later,
course, yeah.
then we can still work everything in. So there's little jury pokery around to try and make it work.
If we can't, of course, if we can't start BB on time, and obviously playoffs won't start on time. And I know you sort of mentioned up to 12 to 11, and I was wondering what sort of message the BBL would have for any prospective clubs still thinking about joining the BBL. I've heard Teesside Lions talking about the early instance from Mark Stoutel. I'm sure there's other NBL clubs sort of half an eye on the BBL, maybe in the future? Maybe what sort of message would the BBL like to say to those clubs considering the BBL?
Yeah, I mean, consider it. We still get interest, we still get inquiries. It's a league that can sustain more teams. I think that from my personal point of view, it'd be great to have more teams, simply to um, open up that open up that competition. Make there's always that sense when a new team comes in, and you saw it with the Royals, that everyone's just kind of like, oh, okay, what they're going to do, how are they going to bring, are we stepping up our game? So there's always that natural element there. But yeah, I think that we're um, we're still here, we're still going.
Yeah, of course.
There's so yeah, be interested. Like if you want to take a shot at it, then go for it.
Definitely hear that, clubs who are interested in BBL to get in contact. I know
Yeah.
from behind the scenes, I know there are clubs still inquiring. I noticed. So obviously the product's really good, and it was an exciting season till obviously it closed with the reasons we know about. I saw the other day that they expanded to 4 Americans. I think that's had a lot of discussion points. I just wonder what are the factors behind that decision, because I think obviously it improves competition, obviously more eyes on us from a global sense. What are your points on that?
So with the change in sort of the number of foreign players, it wasn't so much that it's necessarily an American player. It's been in response to Brexit primarily, because that's still happening. uh, and so it was just to allow clubs that flexibility in their hiring selections. Again, the predominance is, we want to showcase and promote British players, but having that flexibility within the foreign player allowance. Not necessarily Americans. It doesn't necessarily
No,
relate to having an extra American, as people are calling it. It was mainly sort of in response to Brexit, because that's not gone away.
of course. Definitely off the court 2020 and obviously 2019 brought a lot of
Yeah.
discussion points and external factors to the league. So I'm really interested to see how those things affect. Obviously, you addressed it slightly there. But is there anything else that's maybe people outside of the BBL might not realise that has sort of affected how you guys run? So I imagine we all talk about how things should develop, but obviously COVID, we've said Brexit, and other stuff, it's all having a factor. I think maybe we need to sort of temper our expectation. Is there anything else that's effective that maybe people might not be aware of?
No, I think that the everything going forward. I mean, obviously, COVID is the biggest thing that's going to test us over. I'd say even up to over the next 18 months, to be honest. I think that the way we respond to it is going to be key. But ultimately, it's allowed us to possibly be a bit more flexible and fluid with our thinking, rather than just necessarily doing the same old. It's made us have to think about it a bit more, probably.
Yeah.
That's true across sports, to be honest. I don't think that's just us at all. Certainly for me, in terms of what I was thinking for how I wanted content and everything to go for next season has changed in terms of what
Definitely.
I think what we can do. So I think that there's nothing in particular that's sort of having an effect on us at the moment. 2020 is not done yet, though.
I know, really halfway through, I'm sort of like bracing to see what else happens. But I think you raised some good points. It's definitely changed my views on things. I think more pro digital content than I was before. I thought, as much as I love live streaming factor, that I'm always weary, but is it that most beneficial thing for those clubs? Because if it's not monetized, clubs could be missing out on terms of running a club has bums on seats. And I was trying to wonder what sort of ideas you had around the digital content to sort of enhance that experience and maybe make sure clubs are financially supported. So I think that could be really key for next season. So.
Yeah, definitely, it's something that's being talked about. Obviously, we've got all of the automated cameras installed to stream the games, and it might be that we look at offering something different if we can't get all the fans back to watch games at the start, which is absolutely a possibility. And yeah, it's something that is being talked about, and looking at ways that we can enhance the experience for fans. And there's different things that we can look at there, and things that we can do. So yeah, again, lots of conversations happening.
I know.
And yeah, just seeing what we can do and what is possible. And at the moment, the technology is accelerating as quickly as well, and so as that changes, it opens up more on what we can do as well. So
definitely, I say really in June, and obviously the season will start much later if we go to Plan A. Love it's wait and see.
yeah.
I'd love to sort of get some things that inspired you this off-season. I know we talked about Last Dance, how that's been a really positive thing for the basketball community. Is there anything else that's really inspired you? Sort of what have you really enjoyed watching or listening to, or things that created
Oh
ideas for
God,
you?
yeah. There's
So that's
been
really
so much. I almost don't want to say in case I miss someone out. I think so. Josh Better had been doing some videos on the history of BBL teams, which I
yeah.
really liked. I thought they were great. I think Sam Nita at Hoops Fix has still been doing some great work. I was a fan of his anyway, and he's continued doing some great work there. I think at club level, there's also been some really good stuff happening. So Leicester Riders, for example, have had Instagram lives each Friday, where Conroy was interviewing different riders people. Newcastle Eagles have had their Nestons, where they've been reviewing all games with past players and stuff. Bristol have been putting out some great stuff in terms of training videos, and also recently one of their coaches has been doing some cooking videos, which have been quite entertaining.
There's so much on it there. I know.
Yeah. And again, as I say, sort of like all the podcasts that have popped up, I've been trying to listen to as many as I can.
I know.
And it's I've been overwhelmed in a good way about everything that's been coming out, and I appreciate it. I appreciate all the work, all the passion that has gone into it. I really do.
Definitely, we sort of touched before. So there's so much out there. It's great to see, and I'm guilty of missing so much, and I'm trying to like find a way where I just sort of structure my website so that I can like, if I've got an evening spare, I'll watch that or watch this. But there's a lot out there. It's really good, and I think it's definitely to be a positive thing for the season going on. Hopefully, getting a bigger audience. I think, like you said, it's what you've been tasked with, that sort of £1 million question, trying to get new people interested. I thought maybe talk a bit about the BBL Trophy final, because obviously that was a really good showcase event for the game. What are some of your highlights from that, but also maybe from basketball games that were on before you sort of had to shut everything down as it was.
Yeah, I mean the trophy final was like my first event, my first BBL event, and obviously it was held in not the best circumstances. But I think that as a showcase for British basketball, you couldn't have asked for anything better, to be honest. It was an incredible game. The women's final that came before as well between Durham and Leicester was incredible. Like both games were just amazing, and the crowd that were there were great. You know, they were really vocal. They were it was it was great. It was great. It really was. In terms of other games, honestly, I can. It feels like a million years ago already.
I know,
like,
it definitely feels like that.
um,
Yeah.
but as I say, I mean,
I've,
I was when I started, I was to, starting to go up and down the country visiting all the clubs, and hoping to sort of experience their home games, for myself, and that's something that I will be doing when we get back to being able to do that. Um, but yeah, as I say, sort of like the what stood out for me has been the community. I had not expected the basketball community to be so passionate, so welcoming, and I've been humbled by it, to be honest, because I just wasn't expecting it.
I know it's great, and I think some people challenges about it as well. Like a lot of benefit to Barcelona. Maybe sort of five who enjoyed the content. Oh, I want to do it. Maybe sort of five people who are sit at home want to play basketball. What would your advice be to them?
Do it. You know, there's if you want to get involved with it, then do it. My so I've got two kids. My youngest daughter has spent most of lockdown in the garden, you know, doing handling skills up and down the garden, because mummy works in basketball now. That's what you do. I'm like, I don't play. But there's, you know, getting involved at a community level. I've been having lots of conversations at community level as well, and there's some great stuff happening. There really is. You know, I think the beauty of basketball is that you can, you know, you need a ball. um you don't even necessarily need a hoop. I mean, it helps if you want to practice shooting and stuff, but even just having a ball and practicing those skills and everything is, makes it so accessible. And as I say, like the welcome that you get is, and the family and community that you get from being involved is worth it. So yeah, absolutely. If you've been thinking about getting involved, do it. Like, there will be local clubs. What, you know, if you go to the, you know, Basketball England site, they've got lots of resources there to help you find your local club. So yeah.
Definitely, I say it's a really welcome community. I started doing this 2 years for personal frustration, but not much content out there at that time. But it's really welcome community. I've learnt so much, and it's helped. Really appreciate the game more and enjoy it more,
Mhm.
and looking forward to next season. When that be, I really appreciate you coming on. I appreciate some of the questions being quite tough and put on the spot. I really appreciate you coming on talk, because I think sometimes you see a news article. I don't think everyone, not to criticise it, if there's so much content out there, people will just see the headline and
Yeah.
maybe not read the news article. No, I'm guilty of that too. We've got lots of stuff to do. So I just thought it'd be great to have you on, sort of discuss things in the middle, be a bit sort of in the middle and stuff, because I think that's really important, and definitely get us all
Yeah.
looking forward to next season. I thought maybe
Yeah.
to finish it, maybe sort of some advice you might have for people in lockdown? Say you haven't adjust yourself, sort of been furloughed but still working, helping with BBL. And I'm sure there's a lot of people as we're going on sort of week 11, I think now. Obviously, maybe some people
Yeah.
might be struggling, maybe where they haven't before. Maybe some advice you have for them.
I think putting some structure into your day really helps. It helps me anyway. So, I'll make sure that we get up at a set time, and we try to keep our day as normal in terms of timetable as possible. So we have lunchtime and break time, and but don't be too hard on yourself if there's a day where you don't want to, where you do just want to stay in bed, or veg out and binge that box set that you've been wanting to. It's that's fine as well. There's and don't be afraid to reach out and talk to people. There's lots of charities and organizations out there that are set up to help. Reach out to friends and family if you can. But yeah, as I say, for me personally, having that bit of structure in the day always helps. And don't feel that you have to be pressured into doing things. I think a lot of the time people are seeing, oh, I'm on this Zoom call and I'm doing this quiz and I'm doing that. You don't have to. You don't have to do what feels right for you at the time. But if you are struggling, then reach out to help, and there's people there that will help you.
I think that's really good advice. I'm sure lots of people will be taking that on board. So it's a really good message about having perspective. I think quite a lot of things you said, they've really helped me sort of that structure, talking to people. I think especially this week, there's a lot going on out there in the wider world. Without getting too political, there's a lot of hardship for a lot of people at the moment. And being able to talk to people, feel we can break down those barriers. I think that's really positive, but also not be too hard on yourself. Because say it's unprecedented times, we're all having to adjust and definitely do what we can. So thank you for coming on. I really appreciate you coming on. It's really good to get the organisation perspective on things. As I say, it can't be easy for you guys, as I think sometimes people will have that outlet of maybe not negativity, but they let that moment of stress go. Sometimes I think the organisations get the brunt of it more than, say, other content creators.
Yeah.
So keep up with what you're doing. So I really appreciate you coming on the show. It's great to talk to you. I wish you all the best.
Thank you so much.
Yeah,
thank you so much for inviting me on. I look forward to speaking to you again.
You too. Take care. And that's everything from me and Selina. Everyone take care. I'm back on tomorrow. But importantly, stay safe, look after yourself, and I'll chat to you all soon. Goodbye from us and take care, everyone.